Welcome to the virtual lunch. Today is Friday, July 23rd, and this is virtual lunch number 354. Our guest today is Erik Riegler, the general counsel of Rocket Lawyer, and this is part of our continuing series on optimizing communication with lit legal. Hi, Erik. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for inviting me, Ari.
Would love to just start and have you tell us a little bit about your background and your role at Rocket Lawyer.
So I've been a lawyer for 26 years. First role was clerkship. I had no idea what I wanted to do, but in the course of the clerkship, I realized litigation is not for me. So I started to try to figure out what else to do. I didn't know anything about corporate or security practice. Worked there for a while doing corporate and transactional work, and then took an in-house job at a tech company, then started my own law practice. And I've been doing that for the last 15 years and really never thought I'd go back to an in-house job because I like the freedom and I like working with clients that I like, and the variety and all the different business models that came through was really interesting. I love that aspect of it. But I've known Charlie, the founder of Rocket Lawyer, since law school. And their general counsel left about 5 years ago. He called me up and said, "Hey, can you fill in for a little while?" And I've been there ever since. And at some point, it got so busy, I had to choose either my law practice or Rocket Lawyer, because Rocket Lawyer general counsel, it is a full-time job. There's more than enough work for one person. So it was really hard, and I struggled with that decision for quite a while, but eventually decided that it's more fun to work with a team. I like the management team. I like the people. That's the most important thing. At this stage of my career, I don't want to work with people that I don't like. And I like the people at Rocket Lawyer. I like the mission. Interesting work, a lot of new stuff I wouldn't have done in my own law practice. So that's how I ended up here. We use collaboration tools. We use Slack, Jira, Confluence, and the Google Suite. The Google Docs collaboration tools are great. The fact that I can be in a document, somebody else can see the changes in real time is great. So the technology has gotten to the point where it's a lot more efficient. It's really interesting now. I think people want to pick their work environment, and it's definitely a candidates market. That's what all the recruiters have been telling me. Most lawyers have probably worked the last 18 months from home. Now that that genie's out of the bottle, a lot of them don't want to go back. And I'm a good example of that. I moved up to Lake Tahoe in the middle of the pandemic last year, full-time, sold our house in the Bay Area. I've been Bay Area for 25 years or so, and I'm full-time remote now. I'm committed. I've staked this phase of my career on the remote work thesis, and I think it works great. I'm actually probably more productive now, less distracted, and I don't have the commute time that I had before. So every candidate that I interviewed, and we interviewed quite a few for the AGC role, every single one wanted the ability to work at least hybrid. And I suspect that they were being diplomatic about that and really probably want to come into the office maybe 1 or 2 days a week, or not at all. The tools to get work done have improved. 15 years ago, we wouldn't have been on a video call. We'd be on a phone call, a conference call. We wouldn't have had the collaboration tools to be able to work synchronously or asynchronously. It was sending drafts back and forth and old-fashioned phone calling. So there's just more ways to get it done, but the basic work is still helping with solutions, helping with documents, planning, advising, gaining trust and confidence with management teams, being part of the team. That part of it hasn't changed. So I worked with startups, and it was a complete variety of tech companies, Bay Area-based practice. What I discovered was once you've got a few entrepreneurs that like you and see you as a member of the team and feel like you're fair with billing and you do a good job, these serial entrepreneurs, they'll start another company 2 years later, or they've got 5 friends who start companies. If you keep that client base happy, they'll all go out and tell their friends about it. So after a while, it was really self-sustaining. Maybe this will be my last career job or stop along the career, or maybe at some point I'll restart my own practice. Running your own practice does. The connectivity tools today, people expect a Slack answer back in an hour and email. And I'm in a lot more meetings now than when I was in private practice and billed by the hour, because people didn't want to invite me to every meeting because I was billing by the hour. Firms always have to bring in young lawyers If I was going to advise one of my sons, I would say go into the office at least 3 or 4 days a week, and 5 if you can, because there's so much serendipity involved in being there in person, training, mentoring, networking. Whereas a legal department that's kind of small and lean and tailored like Rocket Lawyers, we can work remotely. We'll still be collaborating quite a bit on video calls, but the training aspect of it, it's a small enough firm that I think that can be done without having to be in person. And we've got senior enough people that a lot of the basic stuff we don't have to teach. Everyone was surprised at how connected and productive employees were. And so there really wasn't any need to monitor what people were doing or force working hours or anything like that. People didn't have anywhere to go. They couldn't go on vacation. They couldn't go out to dinner at night or a bar. People were just home. And so generally, they probably ended up working more, spending more time in front of the laptop and doing company work or connecting, sending emails than they would have in regular times. Internally, it was a big eye opener in terms of like the trajectory of technology. 10 years before, companies like us would have been a lot less productive. But with all the tools, Google, we were already on Google Meet, and we just used it even more, the Google Suite. But Zoom, same thing. With all the tools, we were actually more productive for that year. That was Craig's vision, and that was the vision of the virtual firm. Was the idea was that at that point, the tools were ready for people to be decentralized. You need a central office anymore. You don't need that expense of a central office and the time of the commute, because all those tools were available. And the firm still there. I think it's up to 40 or 45 attorneys. It's a virtual firm. It's successful. Some people say, it's baloney, can't be productive from home. Everyone's got to be back in, and others are seeing the benefits of it. Hire somebody in Arizona or New Mexico for half the cost or 2/3 of the cost, but with the same talent, and you don't have to buy office space for them. When you're joining a new organization, there's a need to see people in person, go to the office, integrate, understand the culture. And it's one thing for me, I've worked there for several years before going fully remote. I have relationships already established, but if you're joining, I would want to go into an office at least probably a couple of days a week and start to forge those in-person working relationships and social relationships a bit. You got a healthy culture of collaboration and creativity and hard work and positive work ethic. It's got to be harder to do that remotely or partly remotely or hybrid than it is if everybody's in the office 5 days a week. So hopefully there will be some technology tools that come along that make all of that easier. I don't think that the basic role has changed. I think the tools of the trade are changing in terms of technology. We're not quite at the point where software and AI can do a lot. It's starting to, and companies like Rocket Lawyer are making it easier to find the right document, create the right custom document, and even get connected with attorneys. I guess I'll use the baseball analogy, we're in like the second inning of digital transformation for the legal world. And we've got a long ways to go. Law has been practiced the same way for hundreds of years with very little change. In just in the last 10, 15 years, it's started to change. It'll be really interesting to see where it goes. I have to think that software and AI will become a tool in good lawyers' arsenals. I don't think they'll make lawyers obsolete like probably some people hope. They will become a tool for lawyers and firms to be more effective and more efficient, and probably ultimately more cost effective for the clients. And that's clearly, people want that.
Erik Riegler, everybody. Fantastic. What a great conversation. We're so lucky to have you share your thoughts with us. I want to thank you. I want to thank Litlingo for supporting this series on optimizing communication. And I hope everyone has a fantastic weekend. Thanks again, Erik.